Keep an eye here on the clock. Yeah, just give it a minute just to make sure people find the link, click all the right buttons, wait for our team to all get here as well. All right, just a minute more as I'm waiting on a couple more people to squeeze in here and we'll get started. All right. Okay, well, you made it to 12:02, which means we should get started. I want to thank everybody for making the time to be here today, and welcome to the Behavioral Health Department's Administrative Services Officer information session. What we're going to try to do in a short amount of time today is tell you about some openings that we have here in the Behavioral Health Department in the classification of Administrative Services Officer. I'm going to go ahead and say right now, we are going to stop saying all three words and start saying ASO for the rest of this time. So when we say ASO, we mean Administrative Services Officer. But if you say that 10 times really fast, you yourself will fall asleep and you don't want to do that. So ASO is what we'll call it the rest of the way out. My name is Frank Warren. I manage the Prevention and Outreach Division for the department, and I'll be playing host today. And we're going to go ahead and introduce the other members of the county staff who you'll meet today. We'll start with Jill Reachins, who is
off camera. Jill Reachins is off camera, having camera issues right now. But thank you, Frank. Everybody, I'm Jill. I'm the division manager over youth mental health services. And just a little info about our division. We work with youth ages birth to 21 and provide specialty mental health services in clinics, in the community, and also in home settings. So any luck at all, I'm going to be on camera in a few minutes, but... All
right, well, it gives everyone a chance to get prepared and excited. So thank you, Jill.
Thanks, Frank.
Next up is Josh Peters from our Adult Mental Health Services. Hi, Josh.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Peters. I'm the division manager over Adult Mental Health Services, and we have clinics throughout the county and offer services to adults who are suffering from severe mental illness.
Thank you, Josh. Next up is Morgan Terrell. Hi, Morgan.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I am a business analyst in behavioral health, and I'll be managing the Bridge program and overseeing that ASO position. And I'm also working on a variety of health reform efforts supporting the department with mobile crisis expansion and homelessness and some other efforts as well.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least is our ace here in HR. That's Katie Youngdale. Hi, Katie.
Hey, everyone. My name is Katie Youngdale. I'm the Human Resources Analyst supporting the Health Agency. I'm available to answer questions about our recruitment process, job application, etc. So feel free to email me anytime in the recruitment process.
Thank you, Katie. Also, we want to invite any questions you might have in the chat to go ahead and put those in the chat. That way other people can see the answer if we're able to answer that for you today. You're also absolutely welcome to use the little raised hand feature or just shout it out if you have a question. We'll try to be relatively informal today so that you can get the answers that you need. We don't want anything to go unanswered. But we'll go ahead and start and talk a little bit about the agency itself. If you're not familiar with the Behavioral Health Department, we are a department that is embedded in the county's health agency. So if you are familiar with the county, of course, you can imagine that there are large departments, the Sheriff's Office, Public Works, Planning, Department of Social Services. The departments of Public Health, Behavioral Health, and Animal Services live under a banner called the Health Agency. The behavioral health department is really made up of two distinct types of services that merged way back in 2007. And that was our mental health department at the time and our drug and alcohol services department at the time. So when we say behavioral health, we're talking about both substance use disorder prevention and treatment, as well as mental health prevention and treatment. The divisions of the behavioral health department are that bottom row of blocks you see there. Today, of course, we're talking about adult mental health services and youth mental health services. Drug and alcohol services is where all adult substance use treatment happens throughout the county. Justice services is the division that's focused on court and criminal justice related clientele, both mental health and substance use. The quality support division has a number of functions. One of those functions is our managed care plan for the county. They are responsible for all of the front door services for the department, as well as the quality and Medi-Cal billing functions that happen for our department. Lastly is the division I said I manage, which is prevention and outreach, and I'm also the county's Mental Health Services Act coordinator. The Mental Health Services Act is partially funding some of the positions we're going to talk about today. Now, you don't see where the Bridge program falls in that line, because right now it is being done through the department's administration, which doesn't have its own box there, but you can put one in your mind there. Or I can just shut it down, rebuild the whole PowerPoint and redo it, but I don't have that kind of time. Okay, so an ASO. An ASO is a great series. It is a really great position for a number of reasons. One, ASOs are county-wide. So the Behavioral Health Department has ASOs, but so does planning, and so does I think even the library has ASOs now, and Department of Social Services. So it's one of those classifications that carries across the county. Katie will talk a little bit later about what happens when you're on a list for ASO. But for the most part, an ASO performs a variety of activities through administrative functions, including budget, personnel, coordinating and organizing office and business activities, communications flow, data collection and reporting, grants, contracts, agreements. We get a lot of initiatives in our department. You're going to hear about some of those today, where we have a lot of administrative correspondence with state agencies or other local advisors and stakeholders. And an ASO in some areas can also train, evaluate, and supervise other personnel. There are two levels in the ASO classification, 1 and 2. Those are commensurate on experience and education and expectations of the job. So all of the jobs we're talking about today are being hired at the 1-2 level, meaning everybody who meets eligibility can apply. And then as we meet and greet and find our right fits, we'll be able to determine whether they meet the qualifications and level of a 1 or a 2. So with that, let's talk about the jobs that are open right now. We'll make sure you have a link to the application, which is on our last slide, and we may be able to put it in the chat as well. I won't be able to do that because I'm clicking these buttons over here. But there are 3 positions that are currently being recruited for. As you heard, one's at Adult Mental Health Services. We're about to hear from Josh about that. The location is centered in San Luis Obispo. But I'll go ahead and say this about all 3. All 3 of these programs work county-wide. While the office might have a seat in some location, there can be an expectation that work happens sometimes in meetings in other parts of the county. We have clinics in all regions of the county. For instance, mental health has clinics in Arroyo Grande, drug and alcohol has clinics in Grover Beach, adult mental health services is in Arroyo Grande. We have, of course, everything in San Luis Obispo, and then all those same things happen in Atascadero and now Paso Robles as well. The division managers who you'll meet today and business analysts are all managing these staff. So these are the people applying or seeing who they would be directly reporting to. And you'll see that the first two positions are being funded by the Mental Health Services Act. The last position there, the Bridge program, is being funded by a grant. Now you'll see the parenthetic limited term. So what does limited term mean? So limited term means the funding already has been designated to end at a certain point in time. I will tell you, I've been working for the department almost 29 years, and I work in a lot of grants and a lot of limited term programs. We tend to continually bring on projects and funding streams. So limited term is sometimes a necessary thing to put on to be fair with people, but it's very rare when things end abruptly, if I can be honest with you about that. But I'm certainly open to questions there. Okay, I think I've given you the foundation here. Let's go ahead and hear from the managers and hear what they're looking for in these positions, and we'll start with Josh.
All right, thanks, Frank. Our system right now is going through a huge amount of change, and we have a brand new electronic health record coming. We have some different ways that we're going to be able to bill for things, and along with that comes a really big need for tracking data, for gathering reports based on information from a system that we don't quite have yet. And so this particular role is first and foremost going to be, tasked with going out and understanding our services and going and seeing kind of how the clinics operate firsthand. And then, once that, has been established, then working with our workflows with me and with our program supervisors around gathering information so that we can run more efficiently, so that we can bill, appropriately and, to the levels that we can as much as possible, as well as, we have lots of, things like the front desk reception client flow. That we're looking at. Because we have all this change going on, we're trying to take a look at really how business is done in our clinics. And this ASO position would be helping us to take a look at how things flow and working to implement some new ideas, some improvements, some projects to hopefully improve those workflows and report data on if those are working or if the things that we try aren't making that much of a difference and we need to try something new. So there's a lot of information that we still have to figure out as we move along with this, but this is kind of where it starts at, is helping us with this big change that we are going through. Along with that, I do want to say the other point is that there are many contracts that the adult mental health side holds, and part of this role also will be to monitor contracts, to help coordinate meetings with our contractors and look at data from those contractors and be able to help facilitate those meetings and discuss some of those numbers along with a team from mental health and from the contractors.
Thank you, Josh. We'll go ahead and keep going through the positions, and then we'll make sure there's time for questions, etc. I'm going to go ahead and see, Jill, are you ready to go on camera, or do you want to?
Yeah, I'm not going to be on camera, unfortunately.
Okay, we can hear you.
Yeah, but you can hear me, and that's the important part. So the ASO position within youth mental health services is going to function very similarly as the position within Josh's division, adult mental health services. Like Josh said, we have major changes coming in the next month or so, and we're really going to need to be able to get our heads around how our new electronic health record, how payment reform and documentation reform that is coming down from the state changes the way our staff do business. So what I will say, what I'm looking for is someone who is able to do exactly what Josh said. Step into the position learn about the division, learn about the department, the services we provide, and help us look at how we can do things better. In my mind, that means I'm looking for someone with very strong written and verbal communication skills who can help me directly with policy and procedure writing. Like Josh said, we need to do good data collection and an analysis of data so that we can make informed decisions. We'll be looking for someone who can help with communications, with recruitment processes, monitoring contracts, things of that nature. So yeah, just overall good communication skills and familiarity with data analysis is what we're looking for here in these services.
Thank you, Jill.
Yeah.
Okay, Morgan, let's talk about the Behavioral Health Bridge Housing Program.
Yeah, so the Bridge Housing Program is a new 4-year program that provides temporary bridge housing and services for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness with serious mental illness or substance use disorder conditions. And those are our behavioral health clients. We applied for a $7.5 million allocation, and there will be 2 additional competitive rounds. So lots of work over the next 4 years. And it's meant to create a pipeline of housing for a different new program we have to implement in 1.5 years, which is court-ordered treatment for people with specific mental health conditions. And as Frank mentioned, it's limited term through 2027, but through June 30th, who knows if state allocates additional funding or other opportunities come up at the end of that term, that might be an option. And then some of the primary duties are listed here. There's going to be quite a bit of work on the Bridge Housing Program, coordinating grant applications, contracts, reporting. We have quarterly reporting. There will probably be also ad hoc reporting to see how we're doing and also make changes as needed throughout the process. Helping to monitor the budget, data collection. We have to enter data into what's called a homeless management information system. And so we have some work with the Department of Social Services on that. And then just overall being sort of a lead person for the contracted providers to contact about housing placements and building relationships with other departments and the providers. And we have advisory committees as well. And I will be helping along the entire process of all of that work as well. So, it'll be a team that will be able to support.
Thank you, Morgan. So one of the things I wanted to mention about these programs for all the people that are interested here to know is none of these exist currently. So all 3 positions are brand new. So now that should tell you something, meaning when you walk in, to a job like that, typically you say, well, what have you been doing? And someone hands you a binder and says, here's what we've been doing. That will not happen at the Behavioral Health Department. We will be kind of building this, ship in midair, as they say. So that's part of it. And so if you have interest in starting and launching and being, part of that, that's something you should know about these positions. Obviously, there is a set of skills that is necessary to do this type of work. The ability to collect, analyze, and evaluate data is critical. And then what to do with that data is you have to be able to communicate it effectively, right? Clear, engaging, professionally written content is a mandate for all of these types of positions. So if you have experience developing, writing, or monitoring contracts and grants, including a demonstrated ability to work well with community providers, be sure that is in your application to the county, which Katie's going to talk about here in a minute. If you have data reporting, analysis, or graphics tools or other types of tools and software that you are really proficient or expert in, please be sure that that is known. Ability to work independently and manage multiple tasks. We really rely on our ASOs to be public communicators as well. It doesn't mean necessarily speech making, but it does mean being able to be in meetings, represent the department, speak publicly when necessary, and at times media engagement as well. If you have experience in behavioral health initiatives or behavioral health systems, that's really great and ideal? And then even if not, do you have an understanding of health access in diverse populations? Because that's really the work that is behind what Josh and Jill were talking about with our payment reform and our new CalAIM initiative, is to broaden and build our access. Of course, the position Morgan is talking about is squarely designed to give access to services to people who are vulnerable and have a difficult time in gaining access. So your understanding of that cannot be understated as well. Okay, let's talk about the actual position. Katie, and please take over here.
Sure, thanks. Well, thank you all for attending our info session today. I put the link to the job application in the chat along with my email. So if you think of questions after this info session, feel free to email me. And if you're interested in being considered for any of these positions, please complete the application online before the final filing deadline, which is June 6th. It will close at 11:59 p.m. on June 6th, but I recommend getting your application in as soon as possible. The application process is going to include 2 rounds of interviews, and we're anticipating that the final round of interviews is going to be taking place in early to mid-ish July. And then I want to talk about the eligibility list, because this is something that is kind of unique to the public sector, and we get a lot of questions about what rankings mean and this notice of eligibility list. So candidates who successfully pass the first round of interviews will be added to an eligible list, which means that the candidates who are on that list are eligible to be considered for this opportunity. So it means that, you know, candidates are vetted, and we've recommended the department consider them for an administrative services officer position. And so the behavioral health department will interview candidates on the eligible list for this ASO opportunity, and other departments within the county might use this eligible list if they have similar ASO vacancies as well. That's not always a guarantee, because the ASO classification can be used for so many different types of work, and so sometimes there's very specific experience or responsibilities that might not be as similar to this role. So just wanted to give you a little bit of context about what that means. Other common questions that we receive are about remote work. So all 3 of these vacancies will be eligible for some hybrid remote work. So we talked about the locations earlier, but there is potential to also work from home on in some capacity. And then we also referenced earlier that the ASO position that is assigned to the Bridge Grant is a limited term position. And I just wanted to give a little bit more information about that, because a lot of people have questions about what is limited term. So limited term is different than a temporary employment. So temporary employees are not eligible for all of the county benefits, right? They might just be eligible for paid sick leave, for example. But employees who are in limited term positions are essentially in a permanent role until the end date of their position. So it is a little bit confusing because that sounds temporary, but employees in a limited term position are eligible for the same benefits that permanent employees are eligible for. So that's our health insurance, vacation, pension, leave accruals, paid holidays, all of those things. So just wanted to share a little bit more about that as well. If you do have any other questions, those are just some of the most typical ones I receive. Feel free to send me an email or put it in the chat. But I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for attending. I know these are unique opportunities that we're really excited to share. And I'm getting more questions. So each position is located in San Luis Obispo at our health agency building on 2180 Johnson.
The youth services position would most likely be at our youth services facility across town.
Oh, across town. Thank you. And
Thanks,
can you remind me what street is that one on?
Vicente Drive?
Indeed. So it's right, it's
Oh, sorry.
on the same, I'm here, I'm just invisible. It's on the same campus as Pacific Beach High School, actually. We're behind Pacific Beach High School. So right off Los Osos Valley Road, near the Target Shopping Center. Very conveniently located near Target.
Very convenient. We also got a question about which bargaining unit these positions belong to. That is bargaining unit 07. And in the link to the job description, there is a section about the benefits page, and there's a link in there that will take you to our county website where we talk about which bargaining units are eligible for which types of benefits. And so you can explore the site more, yeah, always email me with more questions as well. There was another question about training. Who would like to help me answer that one?
Well, I'll start. While these are new positions, the department does have a number of people in this classification. And so there's a good amount of peer learning around the basics. So we already have planned for coming later in this year, once we get all of our ASOs on board, some really good training on the basics of county admin functions. So contracts and board packets, budget preparation, MOUs. So the way the county works through those processes, that's already being done. And so there's lots of people here to do that training. Each of the managers, though, will have their own projects and pieces that they're going to have to train on as well. And I'll see if anybody wants to pick it up from there.
Yeah, I would say that once we kind of have that foundation, it would be going to our clinics and having opportunities to shadow different staff and work with the program supervisors at each clinic to understand the workflow, to understand the client flow, to start to understand the health record. And there's a lot to it. So that's going to take a good chunk of time to really become, well-versed in all of those pieces. And as that, gets to a point where, those two foundational pieces are there, then we'll start to talk about the more specific projects and start to work on them more diligently.
I concur with Josh. That was a good summary from both of you. Thank you.
And one additional thing I'll note too, so for general training outside of our specific behavioral health field, we also have a lot of training opportunities that a more centralized, training organization puts on that are available for county employees that are really great around supervision and, emotional intelligence, all kinds of things, lots and lots of things that we can choose from. So, those are always available. And then you'll have an onboarding plan too, in a system that is sort of standard across all employees that are onboarded.
Yeah, thank you, Morgan, for plugging our Learning and Development Center. We offer a lot of different courses that are both on demand and offered in person. Even Excel, which sounds like will be very helpful for this position. So even if in your current position, you could think of ways that you could utilize the Learning and Development Center, I encourage you to check out what we offer through NeoGov Learn. All right, if there are no other questions, thanks everybody for joining. Have a great weekend. And I don't know, Frank, was there anything else you wanted to add before we hop off?
No, thank you so much, Katie.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.